Thank you, everybody, watching here. ASTV Productions. Joining me, as always, Mr. Wayne Kosior. It's Wayne's World, part one of our On the Ice segment, brought to you by Dokespoke Fuels and Case Financial Group, Toby Group, and Palamount Hockey Academy. Say that in one quick breath. I think I just did. Wayne, great to see you. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Theo. How are you doing this week?
Great. You're holding the excitement in. I mean, it's a lot of your personal posts. I mean, your boy's down in L.A. He's being treated like a king. Interesting jersey number. Did he get to pick that one, or is that just what was given to him?
No, that's just what he was assigned. He was pretty happy with it, and for our viewers, he got assigned number 63 by the LA Kings. So he just kind of liked it, and it's got a nice balanced number. And of course, I'm not sure he's a big fan of Brad Marchand, but I am as a big old Bruins fan. So that's probably one of the more famous 63 numbers in the league, I guess.
I was always told if you were a skinnier, taller guy, the bigger number on the back made you look more fuller of a player. So maybe that's why. I don't know. That's why I chose the single-digit numbers.
Yeah, I always went with the single digits too, but I guess we're old school.
Perfect. Right on. Last week, we started talking about a program or a software that's used by a lot of scouts and advisors called RinkNet. A lot of different players are starting to see that being used by those that grade and match up player versus player, talent versus talent, attribute versus attribute. Give us a little more detail on the RinkNet and what it means for players when it comes to coming out of these introductory training camps and ID camps before the regular season.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely the tool that junior hockey teams use for keeping databases on players as far as how, so say you take a Western Hockey League team, probably most of those teams have 10 scouts or something like that. Same would be true in the USHL, and probably in Junior A to a little bit lesser extent, maybe 3 or 4 scouts. But typically, most of those teams will be using RinkNet as their database. It's basically used by every team right up to the NHL and stuff like that. So it's a great tool for tracking those players. It allows them, you basically rate them on points in those numerous categories we talked about last week as far as, for forwards, what type of a forward are they? Are they a skilled forward, a power forward, a defensive forward, an energy type of guy? Kind of rate them in there. And then, you can kind of rate them on a few other different things and their skating, their competitiveness and stuff like that. And then it all adds up to a number that you can kind of use it to rank those players. So definitely, even if you're going to a camp, and though they may not be formally using that tool, you can bet that's in the back of the mind of the head coach and the scouts as they're analyzing it. They're looking for all those components. And something we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. I mean, there's another analytical type software Instat that's integrated through RinkNet that's becoming bigger and bigger part of, looking at hockey players here today and going forward.
It's one thing we always see. I mean, we talk about training camps and scouting, and I mean, the big guys always like to put out their top 50 scouting report and the upcoming this and the NHL draft, and they all have letter grades. And then, of course, there's always that infamous comment section that gives that subjective idea saying, oh, he's a great two-way player. He's a hard hitter. He doesn't mind getting wet in the corners. He likes bus stops, as Bernie Nichols would have said back in the day. But really, when it comes down to it, Wayne, it's got to be cut and dry, like black and white when it comes to a lot of this, because there are so many more avenues that technology is provided for these players to be looked at. Like you said, Instat, RinkNet, all of these different softwares integrate well, and it really provides a harmonious solution for every single level of hockey, especially, we're dealing with sports with so many different divisions of junior hockey, professional hockey, semi-pro, the junior programs and the A's and the I's. So, I mean, it really puts everything together in one good software group.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll say going in, I'm still kind of in the middle of all this analytics and software as opposed to just kind of using your own eyes and watching and stuff. And I think there's pros and cons to both. And I still think it's best to use a bit of both. But certainly to your point, as far as the analytical type software like Instat is using and stuff now, it does provide unbiased numbers that, based on a number of metrics type thing. And I mean, if you ever go or interested, go to instat.com and kind of look at their software. And I mean, it gives you all kinds of things as far as, zone entries as an example. So when a team is making a zone entry, are they, dumping the puck deep? Are they chipping it in? Are they going in with possession and stuff like that? And you get assigned points and ratings based on that. And then there's also things like from a team perspective, all the players on the ice type thing. Did the end result of that shift, was it a goal for, a goal against? Was it a turnover in the defensive zone? Was it a turnover in the offensive zone? All those different things is hard for a human to kind of keep track of and make sense of and stuff, but you can get reports based on all those different types of things that are happening in a hockey game. And it's just because of, the algorithms that they've designed, and with the technology of the hockey TV video feed. And then I understand they're using RFI devices in the jerseys that kind of allow to track the players. It can put together some incredible metrics that, you take a look at that and then add it from your own personal view. And, most of the time it's shed a line, but certainly sometimes you'll find a completely different outcome. And I mean, that speaks to a point where I've looked at scouting reports by scouts from the same organization on the same player, and you'd think you're talking a black and a white type player. They're completely opposite. One loved the guy, one hated the guy. So to your point, I mean, the analytics does help with kind of flattening that out.
We've definitely seen over the last 2 decades that numbers don't lie. Numbers do show a lot of the ingredients to the pudding, so to speak. And I mean, it's gone way above my head analytics wise. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was a kid collecting hockey cards, there was just a couple of stats on the back of the card, goals, points, assists, PIMs, and, there wasn't even time on ice average. I mean, now you've got everything and anything analyzed to the nth degree. And I got to ask you, I mean, how much really, I mean, all these stats are great and these analytics are good for the most part, but what about just straight out, flat out sports instinct and just that common sense to a game? Like, that it factor. I mean, you try to teach a linebacker how to crush a quarterback. You can't teach him how to do that. He either has it or he doesn't. I mean, if you told, Connor McDavid how to score goals, he's either got it or he doesn't. How much of that is missing out of this analytics, and how much do you really base, the decision on just knowing that kid is just super special? He's got that it factor.
Yeah. Well, and I think to that point, I mean, a key grading in RinkNet is competitiveness. And I don't know of how you would grade that with analytics type thing and stuff. And so I've never seen that. So that's one that, again, it's just up to the person that's watching. How hard does this kid compete? Even when he's away from the play on the bench, how engaged is he type thing? Is he kind of like cheering his team on, or is he grumbling to his teammate, or is he, complaining to the coach? There's all those types of things that, are key components to what makes a good hockey player and a good person. And, typically good hockey players are, for the most part, good people. And so you can watch those types of things. And then, IQ is something that still can't be measured by, software and algorithms and stuff like that. So, just how smart is a player? Even when he's away from the puck, where is he going? Is he going where he needs to be, or is he kind of just floating around? It's those types of things that obviously skilled scouts know to watch for and stuff. And if you're ever watching a scout watch a game, half the time he's not actually watching the puck. He's watching things other than, where the puck is.
Absolutely. I mean, go back way back a little bit. The Wonderlic test was something that football players used for many years and scouts used, and the scores were all there. And I remember someone by the name of Tom Brady didn't score very well in the Wonderlic test. And that test is no longer used for anything because it's all about analytics, right? And it's all about, what their scores are. So it certainly is something to watch. I mean, we've seen, the show Moneyball, the movie, and, we talk about all these different it factors and that play into account to a player. And bottom line is the love of the game is something that just isn't able to be measured, I think. And that's where, if you have a love of the game, you can almost do anything and everything. So maybe they'll have a stat for that. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to that point, I mean, there's other things that you look at, and one of the things that I'm big on is that you go back a few years. I think it's getting less and less the way the game's evolving and stuff. But let's go to the WHL draft. They would always, I mean, if you were at 14, if you were 6 feet already and 180 pounds, I mean, that makes you an elite prospect already, right? But the reality is that doesn't always pan out, and we've seen that time and time again. And now we're more seeing, kids that are maybe late developers type thing. And a lot of people like to call them normal developers because a kid that's, 6 feet and 180 pounds at 14, that's not typically normal. But the other thing that I like to look at is the late birthday effect. And, you look at camp rosters, the tryouts, the vast majority of those players, I'm going to say, are born in the first half of the year, with even the majority of those being born in the first 3 months of the year. And that's largely because these kids are so young, and that gives them a huge advantage if they're 6, 9, and almost 12 months older than their peers in that same birth year and stuff, right? But there's been studies done, and it's been proven out that as the kids get older, so as they get into my son's age where they're 18, 19, 20, if there's players that are still playing at elite levels that are born in the later part of the year, there's a good bet that kid's going to be a superior player to the player in that same birth year that was born early in the year. And the rationale is that those kids are considered survivors, and they know how to overcome adversity. They've always battled being the youngest kid on the team. They're probably the smallest kid on the team, but if they can survive and thrive after that, put your money on that type of player. So it's just kind of some interesting stuff that, again, it's not analytics, but you start looking at different types of numbers and birth dates. It can help you pick a player that's going to be better long term versus short term.
Absolutely. I mean, that you talk about that late birthday. I don't know if they still do it. I mean, there's obviously regulations in terms of birth years and being held back a year, being promoted to a year. Those are all different within all the different leagues and whatnot, and getting special permissions certainly will give a player an opportunity to show off how strong they are and how they persevere, and just how lucky those born through January and May truly are when it comes to performance and having those opportunities as well. So if you're a parent absolutely out there thinking about your firstborn kid, maybe just think about that just a bit. We'll leave it at that. We're in the middle of ID camps. We're in the middle of showcases. Showcases are almost ending. But we also have training camps coming up here, Wayne. So we talked a little bit last week about some do's and don'ts. Give us one of the things or a couple of the ideas where, okay, now a player, like you mentioned, might be that late birthday, might be that early birthday, but how do they set themselves separate from the rest of the crowd so that they can crack that team?
Well, I think number one thing that I always tell young players is that you got to have an identity when you go into a camp. So what type of hockey player are you? So are you a high skilled guy? Are you a power forward? Are you a defensive guy? Same as a defenseman. Are you a defensive defenseman or a two-way defenseman? Are you an offensive defenseman? Goalies obviously, pretty straightforward. I mean, you're stopping the puck, but I mean, basically, can you play the puck as a goalie type thing and stuff? And are you coaching your teammates out there, telling them when your defenseman's coming back with his back to the player, you're helping them out and stuff? So bottom line is you got to have an idea going into that camp, what type of player you are, and kind of map that to what that team is looking for and stuff. And so go out there and show that to the, the scouts and the coaches that are in the stands and stuff, watching and rating you and stuff like that. So, don't try to be somebody you're not. If you're, a defensive guy, role player type guy, don't go out there and try and score a bunch, right? Because that's probably not going to work for you and stuff, right? But if, show you got lots of energy, you're working hard, digging in the corner. Every team's looking for an energy guy, right? So that for that third or fourth line, right, we need to send you out there. The team's dead. Like, get out there and get this team going and stuff, make something happen. So I always say do that. And then the other thing I'd say is, don't play it's like it's the seventh game of the Stanley Cup or something. So, feel free to do things that you wouldn't do in a normal game, because if you don't do something special, you're just going to be one of those guys that's a million shades of gray and don't jump out, right? So, do some special, take some chances, but don't do that continually, because if you take chances and that results in turnovers and goals in your own net, that's not going to look good on you. But do take some chances.
So the advice would be, Wayne, to play to your strong skill sets to make the team, but let the coach know that you want to work on your other skills while you're with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And be a good teammate too, right? Everybody's looking for good teammates. Nobody wants somebody that's going to disrupt the chemistry on a team, right? So go out there and, tap your teammates on the pads, tap your goalie on the pads when he makes a big save, get people up on the bench. Those are all good things that'll, weigh in your favor if you do.
Last thing before I let you go, Wayne, for this episode of Wayne's World. Is it rare that you see a player just step on the ice and you kind of have to look at your roster sheet and say, who is that kid? Where did he come from? Or those days come and gone, and everybody that shows up to a camp has already been looked at, already has the skill set, already has the, they're already known, basically.
Yeah, well, when most teams is, say, if you're part of a team and you're at their camp and, you're looking at them, you probably know most of the players, but more of my role, I'm going to a lot of different showcases and games where, typically I may never have seen the players. And And really, I try as a rule not to zero in on anybody. So I don't like to do some advanced stuff where I'm saying, okay, these guys are the leading scorer and stuff. I really like to just go with an open mind to a game and just see who pops out for that exact reason. And definitely there's players that, aren't on a lot of people's radars that pop for me. And that's why I like taking that approach.
No doubt. I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, like you said, you need to be seen, you need to be heard, but we don't want to hear your parents because you're old enough to play your game and do your thing on the ice, because we know that parent that chirps in your ear is kind of not helping you out.
Yeah, that's quite often the case, that's for sure. Let the players do the talking.
Let the players do the talking with their skates. Let them do well. Let them shine because, hey, they got to grow up a little bit, right? And they got to do their own thing eventually, right, Wayne?
Absolutely.
So you're not down. Obviously, your son's down in LA right now doing his thing. We're in the 63. Have you given him any advice off the table in the last couple of days? Have you had a chance to chat with him and say what's up and how things are going?
Yeah, we checked in with him last night and stuff. And the beauty when they get to that level, there's lots of stuff and reports and updates online and stuff. And, I don't ever tell him, what to do, but certainly I always reinforce I'm big on mental focus. So, as he's kind of come up through the ranks, I've always kind of worked with him on one pagers that, what's your mental focusing, things that you need to absolutely do every shift. And so you get it ingrained in your brain. So, I did put together the typical one pager as a refresher. And I think he appreciates it and likes it. It's not like I'm, hounding him, but here's the things you need to do. I know as a scout what coaches and players and teams are looking for. You need to do this as a defenseman. So, it's got to be a part of your play. And so that's about all I do. Other than that, just let him go. I always tell him every time, just go out there, work hard, have fun, and good things will happen.
Certainly, one of those things he's going to have for the rest of his life is the experience of his first camp with the Kings. Wayne Kosior, Wayne's World, here in part one of our On the Ice episode tonight on ASTV. We're going to be joined by the Commish of the SIJHL, Mr. Darrin Nichols. He's going to come and talk to us about finally stepping into a role and actually being part of a regular season, because there wasn't one last year. And we're going to see how well he's prepared for September here on the ice. Wayne, always a pleasure. Thanks. We're going to chat some more, obviously, about the beginning of September and how the month may look. And we'll see what happens, right?
Sounds great. You always enjoy talking to you. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Wayne's World here with Wayne Kosior. Stay right with us. We'll be back, like I said, with Darrin Nichols, SIJHL Commissioner. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you just after the break. Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment. A little new music for me. Darrin Nichols, wow, great to see you, buddy. It's been a little too long, but well worth the wait. How are we doing this fine evening?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good to see you as well, Theo.
Darrin, are you in Thunder Bay right now, or whereabouts you sitting at?
I am, yeah. Thunder Bay, warm, dry, nice summer for us.
Nice summer. So more fishing, more golfing, but you got to put that stuff away because it's almost hockey season, right?
Yeah, we're going to be back to where we're supposed to be pretty soon here, and that's pretty exciting.
Back to where we're supposed to be. Now, you have to be quite ecstatic with the fact that some of these, preseason camps, these ID camps, the training camps are starting up. I know Cam Rivers started up earlier this week. How exciting is that, knowing that we're on like the precipice of a regular season?
Yeah, it feels, I think, more like what a normal fall and into training camp should feel like at the end of the summer here for sure. Last year, if I think back, there was, optimism, but always a sense of trepidation that, it was going to be tough to pull something off. And ultimately that's what came to fruition. But, this year there seems to be a prevailing sense of optimism. It's nice to see the team's excited about getting back into the rink as opposed to some of the hesitancy that we had had to overcome last year. But, we're in this so that young athletes can get a chance to grow and develop. And it looks like we're finally getting back to that now.
Doug Lean from the Wisconsin Lumberjacks had him on a week or so ago, said that the biggest step was to make sure we had a regular season schedule in place and set up so that was something to look forward to and plan for. Obviously, like you said, with the intrepidations of last year, not knowing that unknown, now we know what's going on. Now we have set dates. What needs to take place here in the coming almost 24 days till puck drops for the regular season? What else has to happen with all the teams here in the SIJHL?
Well, I don't think any of them will say that they're, going to be fully prepared for the start of the season. So I think these next couple of weeks are going to be really valuable for getting kids back on the ice, getting them, back integrated into, what real hockey looks like, what the speed of the game looks like, and, and what hockey conditioning looks like as well. So they've, mostly been training away from the rink when they were able to train. Some of them even had to train at home for the most of last season and kind of make do with limited or no equipment. So it's really been a different environment for everybody. And, I think we'll probably hear that the teams are taking the first couple of weeks just to get their players really integrated into being comfortable being back at the rink and in competitive situations again. And, they're probably going to really delay, if I had to guess, their serious evaluation of the players until they've had a few skates to get their legs underneath them, so to speak.
On a bit of a position note for you as commissioner of the SIJHL, 20th season this upcoming year, you really haven't been able to fill your role in its entirety because this is truly like your first almost going to be your regular full season, correct?
Yeah, I'd say, if there's anything that the last year has been is, we had an irregular season last year. So, we're optimistic and hopeful that this will be, somewhat more than normal. We're still, dealing with the border issue without question. That's the last significant hurdle that we need to get over. But, if we think back to the circumstances we were under last year, last year, I don't think anybody was surprised that the border was closed at this time last year. And it seems that more and more of the general population up here in Canada, and even in the people in the States that I've talked to, are surprised that the border is still closed for Canadians going down south. So, we do have the ability to bring our American teams up here, but obviously it's not optimal to ask them to pay, the bulk of their schedule on the road in the early going here. So, we may have some fine tweaks to our schedule that have to happen as it sits right now. We're not planning to need to send a team from Canada down south to the border, across the border until mid-October. So, with only a couple of small tweaks in our schedule, we can prolong that until the end of October. And that, gives us another 2 months basically to see if we can get the border settled.
Certainly a strategic plan for the SI because those two teams, the Wisconsin Lumberjacks and Thief River Falls, they can't play each other. They can have a home and home series once or twice. They can't be playing 12 games in a row against one another. And that'll be a little bit redundant, but might be a little bit boring, or they might get sick of each other. What do you think?
Yeah, we don't want to play them with that frequency. It is an option. It's one of the, if you want to call it a luxury, that we do have, two teams situated in the States. If we look at the other leagues that are in the same situation with international teams, it's really only one team. So they're really landlocked down there. So at least we have that option. We have the option to get them into Canada to play their games as well. And, our schedule is by its very nature, having 7 teams, any given night we're playing, we're going to have them out of the rotation and taking a night off or a weekend off at various points as well. So we can structure our schedule strategically to have them having their off weekend so that they're not, going at each other 10 times in a row or whatever type of thing. That's not ideal for anybody. It's great that we can get them on the ice, but we still want to, give them a schedule that lets them participate in our season.
So we have the border issue still being dealt with, obviously, not just with the SI, but other teams and other divisions and leagues around Canada and the United States. What other steps are being done from a league perspective to ensure the safety, the protocol, and the right things are being done, not only for the player, but the organization and the fans that are looking forward to supporting their home team?
Yeah, we'll continue to take our guidance, Theo, from from the public health authorities. We said that right from the get-go last year. We're not asking for anything that the general public wouldn't be permitted to do. We fully intend to respect all public health restrictions that happen to be in place at the time the puck drops. I think there's a general heightened awareness of safety protocol. That's in place. We're going to continue to do the screening at the arenas. We're continue to have the contact information in case, we do happen to get a case around so we can identify close contacts. But, again, it seems like it's right around the corner, but a lot can change in the 2 weeks between now and when games start happening. So it's, one lesson that we learned from last year is it's almost an exercise in futility to try and plan too far out, because at the pace at which things change, all your planning goes for naught in a lot of cases.
It's almost like public health is like Thanos. With a flick of their fingers, everything could become inevitable, or everything can come straight to a halt. So we definitely know how to properly plan that stuff, don't we?
Yeah, it can. And I mean, we've been fortunate around here. I think they've done a great job up in Northwestern Ontario here, the two health units that we work with. And, we thought, or, we were able to approach them last year in our attempt to get on the ice with a couple of things that we thought made sense. And they, that were catalysts to really getting us, going and back on the ice. And, to their credit, they looked at it and said, you know what, that does make sense. And we'll permit you to do that. And that was kind of what paved the way for us to go. So, certainly no complaints about how the public health situation has unfolded in this, this part of the country or this part of the province. They've been doing a fantastic job, and there's no reason for us to expect that wouldn't continue.
Darrin Nicholas, the commissioner of the SIJHL. We're going to take a quick break here on the ice. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about hockey the week before the big weekend of the 17th and 18th of September, because in our hometown, your hometown, there's going to be a new, there's going to be the revival of the Teleco Cup. So stay with us here on the ice. Back here on the ice with Darrin Nicholas, the SIJHL commissioner. Do they call you the Commish, or do they just call you Mr. Sure. Darrin, Mr. Nicholas?
Well, sometimes you don't want to know what they call me, but
that's the power of Zoom calls. You can hold some of your emotions back after all these months, but now you got to meet people face to face, shake hands, and start getting back in the public eye, Darrin, in person. Looking forward to it. I know you are, because we have the Teleco Cup coming back to the T-Bay area, September 10th through 12th. 4 teams. We have just the one team from the States, I believe, the Wisconsin Lumberjacks, being able to come up across the border. We also have 2 teams from Canada, as well as an all-star sort of showcase team from another neighboring league, correct?
Yeah. Credit to Kevin McCallum and Cam River Fighting Walleye. They've had a vision of trying to get an event off the ground here, and they tried it last year, which just turned into a series between them and the Thunder Bay North Stars. Before we got our season underway, and actually, as it turned out, we had to turn the back half of that 8-game series they had planned into regular season games. So we kind of had the 2 events going concurrently there. They were challenging for the Teleco Cup and playing for regular season points as well at the end of it. Again, pandemic, they had visions of trying to bring in some teams from other leagues that they can play somebody else, and our fans here can see the caliber of hockey and the type of teams that play in other leagues. But as of right now, there's kind of no interbranch travel permitted with Hockey Canada. So, we had a lot of interest from the Manitoba Junior League and from the Northern Ontario Junior League, and I'm pretty optimistic that we'll see teams from both of those leagues participating in future years. But consistent with the Walleyes outlook since they started last year is you find a way to make some lemonade out of the lemons that you've had, so Fort Francis is going to come and play. Wisconsin Lumberjacks are their game for anything that's going on in this league, and they wanted to be a part of it, so they're going to make the trip up. And they wanted a fourth team in here, and thought it'd be a great opportunity to get the Junior B players involved. A lot of the players in our league also spend time in the local Junior B league here. And it's not a far cry from the level of play that our league has, and real good opportunity for those players to make an impression on coaching staffs in our league, and get going on a pretty high pace. We expect to start the season for them too. So good all the way around.
Absolutely. Getting that Junior B showcase team together was part of that 4-team Teleco Cup championship. It begins, or it continues on, with developing players and getting them to the next level. I mean, that is what the SI and every junior league does here in Canada, is looking to promote players to the next level, whether it be Division 3, whether it be with another junior program, or they age out and have a chance to play overseas. That is the ultimate goal for the organizations, to provide not only great hockey and great entertainment in these small communities, but also seeing these players move to the next level.
Yeah, and I mean, some might look at it and say, well, why would you want to do that, and why would you want to put your Junior A teams against players that have a Junior B tag beside them? And we've never looked at it that way. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, we're about giving players an experience. Let them enjoy it, let them move up, let them see what it takes, type of thing. And consistent back to last year when we tried to get going and we had the U18 teams involved with our schedule, and a lot of junior leagues would look at that and say, well, geez, what happens if what if you get beat by one of these 18U teams? Doesn't it look bad on you? And it's like, well, probably wouldn't be the best look, but at the end of the day, we gave kids a chance to play hockey and get some meaningful games in and get some video there. And that's the bigger picture for us. And the board is pretty unanimous in that. So this is just sort of keeping in with that philosophy for sure.
Absolutely. So I got to ask you a hard question now. September 17th, 18th, opening weekend, regular season action. I don't know what jersey you can wear, but can you have someone make a half Thunder Bay North Stairs, half Cam River jersey, so you're supporting both clubs?
Yeah. Well, I'll be supporting both clubs anyways. I don't need a jersey to do that. So, looking forward to that. And, I think the 18th, the Saturday, is the home opener for both those teams, or the season opener for both, and the home opener for Cam River. And I think that's going to be a pretty unique atmosphere inside that building that night for sure.
When regular season finally kicks off and you can kind of drop your shoulders a little bit and have a bit of a sigh of relief, but a sigh of excitement, how important is it to see junior hockey back in these 7 communities representing the SIJHL?
Well, I mean, we think it's critical. I mean, in the whole scope of things, it might not be that big of a deal when you've got healthcare professionals and frontline workers that have been grinding it out for a year and a half here now and counting. But we think that it will represent finally kind of turning the corner into some semblance of normal. From what we understand now, we're going to have 50% capacity in terms of crowd allowed in our buildings. Up to 1,000 people. So I think, based on the math and historical numbers, we should be able to see somewhat normal crowds in our buildings for our games. And I think that might be the biggest single statement that we can contribute to these communities is good job on everybody for hunkering down and grinding it out. It hasn't been an easy stretch for any of us. And, one sure sign that things are returning to normal is that there's a good hockey game at the local arena on a Saturday night.
It certainly is high level entertainment for these communities. I mean, you talk about, like you said, Friday, Saturday night games. I can remember playing in barns and saying, that's the go-to thing on the weekend, because you want to wear the team jersey. You want to support the home team. and you're looking forward for not just a Donnybrook or two, but you're looking for some good live goal-scoring action. And I'll tell you one thing, these boys didn't forget how to hit. They just have to know how to hit properly, right? Seeing they didn't have a lot of it last year.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, I mean, truth be told, they didn't forget last year either. It was trying to unteach, decade plus of habits that have been ingrained into them. So they were conscious of it. They tried, but at the end of the day, for the most part, you couldn't take the body contact out of the players as much as you tried.
No doubt. We talked about the communities that are involved. Can you give us a bit of a heads up, perhaps, of a possible expansion and some other league developments and relations ongoing for this 20th season and future seasons to come?
Well, sir, I mean, certainly it's, we've made no secret of it. It's high on our priority to increase the number of teams that we have. We think it just provides a better experience for the players that, instead of playing 10 times against a single team, they can play 4 or 6 times against a team and maybe get more games in a schedule type of thing. So, we think it'd be a better experience. We certainly have a wish list of teams that or towns and cities that we think need to be involved in this rink, or in this league. My preference in my business world, Theo, and you mentioned it earlier in our discussion, is to look people in the eyes and shake hands and stuff like that. So we've got some events planned throughout the schedule in the wintertime here that are going to bring us into these communities, and allow us to establish relationships with the people that are critical to moving things like a junior hockey franchise forward in those communities. And, I think, one thing that we're all observing from the board of directors standpoint in our league is just, how much excitement there is in Sioux Lookout about since we've announced their new franchise. And, they're not starting till next fall, but, the reception that town has given the team has just been pretty spectacular, to be honest with you. And it kind of serves as a reminder for the rest of the communities is just, how integral a junior hockey franchise is in what they have. And certainly, we think it benefits, our region, the hockey players in our region, and certainly our league if we can get, a few more stable, healthy franchises that that can recruit good players. So it's not going to happen overnight, but we do have a plan in place, and we think realistically within the next couple of years we'll be at the double-digit level for teams, and maybe even a couple past that if we can.
That sounds like fantastic news, Darrin. I think that's truly a goal that can be attained, and communities, if they're there to support them and they look for that excitement, like you said, in Sioux Lookout, that's amazing. I mean, that's truly one of those things you can hang your hat on, and love to see that league in the SIJHL and those communities grow. Anything last you want to say before I say goodbye, Darrin, this evening?
Yeah, no, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Theo, and thanks for having me on, and thank you for your continued support of our league and our teams. And I look forward to the time when I'm less of a focus and you can be talking to our coaches and some players about actual hockey that's happened on the ice. And that's what we all want.
I got to get you in here because we got to hear from you. I mean, I got Thunder Bay, or I got Cam River done. Sorry, I talked to Wisconsin. Thursday show, we're going to have the boys from Dryden and the Ice Dogs joining us. So I'm looking forward to touching base with all the teams before the season starts. But it wouldn't be right if I didn't have the commissioner on with us at least sometime during this set of interviews, because you get we get them down. I know you're a busy guy. You got to enjoy it once in a while.
No, I do enjoy it and look forward to it, Theo, for sure. Thanks for having me.
I really enjoy the logos. I forgot to mention those at the beginning. They're up in our top corner there. The 20th anniversary one, as well as the sleek. I love how the loft over the great party, where Canadian flag is above the American flag, just like it wouldn't be in geography class in grade 5. Very important. I remember Robin Williams talking about the loft over the great party. Certainly, the loft is open. The great party, we got to open up soon so the Canadian teams can go south and enjoy normal life down there as well. Darrin Nicholas, this commissioner of the SIJHL. Thanks for joining me on the ice.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Theo.
And thank you to our sponsors, Doak Spoke Fuels, Case Financial Group, Toby Hockey, and the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy for joining us here on ASTV Productions. Always free to watch. Check us out on all of our media pages. And, of course, bringing more goodness to the greatness. Take care of your friends. Take care of your family. Take care of your neighbors. And, of course, be safe out there. And go watch some hockey come September. I'm sure Darrin would recommend that same approach. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, the evening, wherever you are, and stay safe. Bye-bye for now.